Rick Wilson.
Molly Jong-Fast.
Here we are, another week in Trump's America.
Or is it Trump's Arabia?
So I feel like, you know, what a lot this trip,
Mhm.
this Trump Middle East, I want to say jaunt. Can we say it's a jaunt?
We could say it's a jaunt, sure.
This Trump
We could
Middle
say it's a
East,
Hajj.
it's a Hajj. It's a
Yeah.
Hajj-Podge. This trip reminded me that everything in Trump world is just a rehash of something else that happened in the first administration, that happened on reality television, that happened to him in the '80s in New York. Like, we're just in a kind of cyclical fuckery.
It's cyclical fuckery is a great way to put it. It's a time loop.
Yes.
I mean, we're just stuck in the same bullshit with him over and over and over, and and it is why I think Americans have such a hard time dealing with it, because even people who like Trump or
Are
support
bored
Trump
with him. Yeah.
this week were like, boss, no, man, come on, this ain't it, chief."
This ain't it, chief. Was that the plane? Was that
That
the
was a
thing?
lot of it was about the plane.
The
Some of it
747 that the
for
Saudi
a
the
free
Qataris this is the Qataris have been trying to sell since 2020 and
right,
decided just
Jihad Force 1 is actually not the bargain Trump conceives it
right.
to be. But but look,
And
I think
Erdogan even has one. So,
yeah,
like, yeah, go on.
I mean, and look, that's a C tier dictatorship,
Yeah.
honestly. But look, I think what we saw this week was 2 things. One that is Trump-centric and one that is about corporate America. All these people in corporate America who got on the plane and went over there with Trump, they now, in his mind, owe him. Anybody who made a deal over there or who it could even tangentially be seen to benefit from being over there, Trump will now think, Boeing must do whatever I want forever and ever. They must give me whatever I
Mhm.
want forever and ever. Sam Altman is over there, and Ray Diallo is over there, and
Right.
Blackstone and BlackRock's leadership are over there. And all these folks that are sort of dragging along behind Trump, he will make them pay for this trip,
Forever and
either
ever and
literally or
ever.
metaphorically.
Right.
Yeah, as for Trump and the Trump clan, this was pure, gimme, gimme, gimme. This was handout, whatever you can fork into the bag, I'll take it.
First, Amazon said, "We're gonna show how much the tariffs raise prices."
Yep,
Trump
yep,
was like,
yep.
"No, you're not." Walmart said, "We're gonna have to raise prices because of the tariffs." Trump said, "No, you're not. You have to eat the tariffs." Like, first
I
of
was
all,
told, by the way, I was told that foreign countries paid those tariffs.
yeah,
I was
exactly.
assured that was how it
Yeah.
worked.
But it turns out that what he meant by foreign countries was American consumers. But so here's a question though. These are companies, Walmart is a huge country and also company. How do you square this? So
Listen,
they're just gonna
the scale of Walmart is such that by the
isn't
time they
90% of Americans shop at Walmart?
some absurd number, but by the time they reached the point where they had to say, "Hey, we're gonna have to raise prices." You have to understand that they've already done everything they can to keep their suppliers in line, keep prices down, negotiate further down on their already inexpensive supply chain deals to make up for the tariffs. All of this is super terrifying for Walmart because they've already done what they can.
Right.
They've already pushed the levers down as far as they can. So at this point, Walmart is kind of like China. They're an organization that plans on a 50-year scale now. They're not just quarter to quarter to quarter. They are
Right.
looking out into the future. And their deal is we're not going to blow ourselves up financially. We'll take a little bit of a hit from Trump and his people, but where else the fuck you going to go, chief?
If Walmart raises prices, that is actually better than if Walmart eats the tariffs. Because if Walmart is able to somehow keep prices lower, they will put out all of the other businesses that exist out of business, right?
That is correct. Yes,
So if
you have the exact key to this thing,
So if
which
you go
is
to the
yeah.
drugstore next door and the hammer is $21 and you go to Walmart and it's 14, then eventually those mom and pop shops are gonna go out of business. sooner
Yeah,
rather than
they're
later.
vastly more price sensitive than Walmart or Target or Amazon to some degree, but other retailers. But once you get below that tier, I mean, these days in America, unfortunately, retail is the pyramid is weirdly inverted. It used to be a lot of small businesses and a few big ones. Now it's a couple of big businesses who take 80% probably of the national revenue that's coming into to that kind of sector. And small businesses taking 20%, but they're going to take a much wilder degree of pain.
Yes, and I wonder what the sort of larger how you can spin that to be good for anything, including capitalism, but I think
Well, it's
besides
not,
the
I mean, but we got to realize this is not capitalism now.
right, this is crony
This is Maoism. We keep talking about it, but this is not capitalism. All those fuckers last year who were screaming like, "I'm a free market Republican. I believe in markets and free enterprise, and Harris will lead to full communism." They don't mind when Donald Trump sets wages and prices. They
right.
don't mind when Donald Trump controls the means of production. It's kind of odd,
Yes, it's almost as if they're all hypocrites.
almost.
Almost. That you will be listening to this podcast on Monday if all goes well. Tonight, Sunday nights, 10 o'clock, we have another meeting of Mike Johnson and the big, beautiful bill.
At 10 o'clock on Sunday night meeting screams out to me, everything's fine.
Everything is
What
going
could possibly go wrong?
going great. When you
It's
are
going
meeting,
great.
when you're a member of Congress and you have a meeting at 10 o'clock at night on a Sunday, Mike Johnson has done a number of really amateurish things. Set deadlines he couldn't make, right?
Right?
This is supposed to be done by next weekend. Could have put 2 bills together, instead decided to do 1. I think the thinking here is that they're only gonna be able to get 1 piece of legislation passed, which I think is probably very likely true. But the top line in this House bill that I want you to talk about, Rick Wilson, is something that I feel like we have not been talking about in the pundit industrial complex, and that is $880 billion cut from Medicaid.
So it's now about 10 days ago, I was told by a reliable person I've known for a long time who said there had been polling done for the Republican caucus, and it was so bad that Mike Johnson refused to let the polling company brief the members. And the worst part of it was that 83% of American voters said that they would be more likely to vote against a candidate who cut Medicare or Medicaid.
Yeah,
Good luck, chief, because at that point, you
that's
have
all
hit
Republicans.
you have hit a level where Republicans, no matter how loyal they are to Trump and no matter how much they want this tax cut, and no matter how scared they are of Elon and all this other garbage,
Yeah, but I don't think they're so scared of
but
Elon
it,
anymore. So let's talk about that next.
but they're going to cut $800 billion out of Medicare and Medicaid over a 5-year window, which, first off, one thing that people have not figured out yet about this is the minute you do that, many, 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 many American families who have a father or a mother, a parent or grandparent in a nursing home right now that is partly paid for by Medicaid, they're moving home, chief. They're coming
Yeah,
back. You
that's the
enjoy that.
night
Y'all have fun.
that's
Y'all have fun
that's
when
the
that
n
happens. It's going to be amazing.
that's the nightmare scenario for everyone. That, and then also your rural hospital is gonna close.
100%.
But let's talk about Elon's more diminished role in the death of
Mhm.
democracy. So my man has gotten in there and he's gotten in all the computers. He's fired a ton of people. He's had to rehire some.
Right.
There we have some the FAA seems like it is having some issues, Rick
A
Wilson.
little bit. Yeah. Look, they did in fact want to fire and they did offer early retirement to many of these FAA controllers. Many took it. We
And
have
then he
about
had to be
13,000 controllers. We were due to hire under the infrastructure bill about 2,500 more, which we needed. That's on hold. They're blaming Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden for Doge cuts, which disrupted the FAA. I've talked to people in the FAA who I have been told are mortified. They're working the extra hours. They're covering the extra bases. But this thing has been so screwed up from DC
right.
that the head of air traffic control took the retirement bonus
Yeah.
and got out. This
Uh,
is a dangerous situation. Look, and I'm gonna do the as a pilot, but as a pilot, I don't fly a commercial jet, but I fly in the instrument system all the time. And you rely on these underpaid, overworked, over-hassled people to keep 400 mile an hour, 400 passenger steel and aluminum tubes from crashing into each other. And it's a pretty good use of my taxpayer money
Yeah, I would think so too. I would like my taxpayer dollars to go
to go
to
to not
funding.
having me killed in a fiery crash. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
I'm against the fiery crash thing. I
that's
really am.
my hottest take, but I wanna talk about Elon for a minute.
Sure,
He
sure.
is definitely we don't know, again, because we have so little transparency into what the fuck Doge did in our federal government, and years from now, we'll probably find out nothing good. Big Balls and his group are still in the government
Right.
computers and different federal agencies, but whether or not this is true, there is less Elon in our
There's
media.
less Elon in the press, and
Now we
I
don't
have a
know.
contrarian take on this, and a lot of people are
Yeah,
like, "Oh, he's thrown out, it's over." I have a contrarian take on this. I think that Elon had this is a very deliberate PR strategy to pull him out of the limelight.
right.
I do think he had a little bit of fence mending and fixing to do at Tesla and SpaceX, but I think this is a very deliberate, let's take the heat off Elon by making him wear the ball gag for a few weeks. But I still think the fuckery that's going on here, that Elon has a direct hand in, like the South Africans coming here,
Right, right,
which,
right.
by the way, the oppression of those poor South Africans, you can see that many of them had lost the Battle of Buffet Ridge as they were
Yeah.
coming off the
Alright,
plane.
I'm not gonna say
These
that
were
kind of
not
stuff,
people that
but
looked to me like they were bedraggled war refugees, but in fact, they looked
right.
like a bunch of fucking middle class people who
Well,
watch too much television, eat too many carbs.
right,
But
but the point of the story is that it's not clear. I think what we know that Elon polls slightly below the
Satan,
bubonic plague,
yeah.
and so we know that Republicans have a real incentive to make him disappear,
Mhm.
especially if you look at what happened in that judicial election in Wisconsin.
Yep.
The polling was that Elon did not help, if
Yeah,
anything, he hurts.
we tested ads that had the same message, and one said Brad Schimmel supports Trump, and it worked. It wasn't like a home run, it was like a good solid double. And then we said took the same message. He supports Trump doing this, this, and this. Then we swapped it out and said Brad Schimmel supports Elon and the Doge agenda to cut Medicare, to do this, that, and it was 145% more effective. It was
Yeah, so
insane. It was like, fuck Elon.
yeah,
He
Elon is
he doesn't
polling
evoke that immune response, you know?
yeah, Elon is polling poison. So the question is he really gone or is he pretend gone?
My theory of the case is he is pretend gone. I'm gonna die on this hill that I think he needed a week or two to reset because SpaceX has been having a lot of problems and
Right,
Tesla's been
70
having a lot of
what
problems.
they had an earnings call where they announced that they were down 71%. Their earnings were down. Imagine, like, what you have to do for your earnings to be down 71%. Imagine.
And think about this in context too, Molly. The year before, SpaceX's board and its and I can't remember her name right now, the chairman of the board was arguing to both the board and to the Delaware Chancery Court that Elon Musk last year deserved a $54 billion annual salary.
No. It can't be a billion.
Billion. Oh no, billion with a B. B
No, no
before the
way.
illions. Oh yeah,
We're gonna need a fact check from Jesse Cannon
you
here.
can check it out.
But the point is, yeah, so we don't know, is Elon gone or is Elon pretend to be gone? We have no idea. And again, I want to go back to another thing we were talking about before, this idea that all these people made these deals, right? And they were announcing these deals that were fakey numbers, right?
Right.
$1 trillion. Tell us about some of these Middle Eastern deals that they were announcing.
You know, as I was on with Ali Velshi this morning, and I refer to them as concepts of a deal.
Right.
These are press release promises. These are not actual hard number, commitments. Like I'll give you an example. The supposed deal with uh, Qatar to buy $250 billion worth of jets. Well, it's really to buy 50 jets with an option to buy 100 more. Okay.
Right.
None of these things are, and again, this is all such press release, hurry up bullshit. And some of these deals, by the way, had been percolating, the arms deals in particular had been and the Boeing deal had been percolating in the background since well before Trump took office. Some of
Well,
them were
and
negotiated by the Biden administration. They're just taking credit for them, but a lot of
right.
them are just vaporware.
Right. But I love that they were so because everything is fake, they were just getting bigger and bigger numbers. I think
Oh yeah,
Qataris had a trillion, someone said eight, billions, no, trillions,
trillion
no,
gazillion.
zillions.
Yeah, none of that to my mind. None of that
Right.
to my mind is what we call real.
No,
Um,
yeah, many
and
people are
look,
saying not
nobody in this world who deals with the Middle East ever, who's ever dealt with any business, organization, government, or person in that ultra high wealth petrodollar universe walks away believing anything. As racist as it was, even Senator John Kennedy said, you can't trust any of these people. Lock up your camel. Which
true.
look, if I had
It's
camels,
pretty
I'd
rich.
be afraid that John
Yeah.
Kennedy would come and do unspeakable things to them. But
Well, I
um,
also think, like, this is a little, like, anti-Muslim, uh
it's not actually. It's actual real talk. The idea, though, that Trump
right.
goes and looks at the Middle East now. I have to say, I think a lot of American Jews had to be a little surprised that Israel's been totally cut out of all these discussions.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
surprised. Here's an American Jew who's not
yes,
surprised,
I
who's
think you
not at
probably
all
have a little more
surprised.
sophistication about this. But Harris will abandon Israel.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I was wrong about the $54 billion payday. It was a $56 billion payday.
How is that
It
possible?
was I'm looking at Reuters. Judge voids Elon's unfathomable 56 billion Tesla pay package.
Right.
I just put a link in the chat.
Okay.
All right. Well, Rick
Billion.
Wilson, again, correct.